up, everybody? All right, 10:30 on the dot. It's the 12th of November, and we got M42 in view. Hope everybody's doing great tonight. Vibing out this weekend, and finally got a clear view after all the storms. It was pretty cloudy and gray for a bunch, so I took some time to just dig into archiving the channel, like I was saying, getting all the old videos, and also just labeling everything and putting it in a doc. So got some good work done. Let me know how y'all are feeling, if you have some clear skies tonight. Want to kick it off with M42, one, because it looks great, and two, because the moon is still obstructed, or it's sort of out of obstruction at this point, but just so I don't forget to show M42 in all its glory. See at the center, you got the trapezium cluster, the 4-star cluster, but there are actually double stars in there as well. You see all the nebular clouds, so this is just like, I'm running the 8-inch looking east right now. Yeah, the Great Orion Nebula, Messier 42. So yeah, let's wait for our friends to come in. I see Tetrapodum, what's going on? Prestige, welcome. Well, cool. Let's vibe out here, taking requests, playing some jams. We'll try and play some, maybe do some live stuff here, acoustic here in a little bit. Once I get it over to the moon, though. This one's called Feel For You. that was too abrupt, but whatever. I don't know why sometimes it doesn't allow me to fade it down properly. So yeah, just wanted to hop in quickly, talk about Tetrapodum was asking how was the week around the full moon. So it was pretty good leading up to it, and then even better because I think you saw the video, but got to stream most of the eclipse, well, at least the first half of it up until totality, and then got like one little glimpse of totality. But yeah, that was a very interesting stream from inside a room. I mean, it's not like it's a different room, but just facing west through a window and still getting to stream it was pretty incredible. How about yours? And yeah, we'll switch over to the moon in a second here. I'm really enjoying the view. It's quite clear, and there's a chill coming through. But yeah, the lunar eclipse was amazing. Last one for 3 years. As I was archiving, I realized like I've been so lucky to capture 3 or 4 lunar eclipses at this point. I think it's pretty sure it's 4, but I only found 3 of the videos. I think it was September, that first blood moon, September 2015, and there's one in 2017, there's one this year, might even be 5. I don't know, I'll have to go back and check, but it's pretty incredible that I just chose this past decade to turn to scoping and get all these crazy events. Feeling very blessed, feeling chill tonight, and yeah, I was actually not going to stream, and then I realized like it's too nice out. It's such a particularly good opportunity, and it's the weekend, so let's ride together for a little bit. I got Silver Keys, an old demo of mine, queued up right here. I literally recorded it one night and never changed it or added anything to it, but it's got that, captures that vibe from New York. Oops, that's not it. Let's listen. Oh yeah. Orion, bouncing waterfalls, like a history, high, singing low, like the cold trains of the soul track. You brought me down to the whoa. Forget about the land you knew was strange. Remember all the love you knew was days. Won't you close your eyes, relinquish every step of the way. Oh, terrestrial, and all your memories, like a cold hand, puts up your sleeve like a death wheel. I'm rolling down, I'll be toe to toe with the truth you know. Oh, bye, show away. Would you go till the end of your days? When you bye, will you call up to you? Will you go to the end of your days? Yeah. Go to the end of your days. To the end of your days. Alright. So that was Fine Shore Ways and Silver Keys, and headed over to the moon here. Even though M42 was looking great, just figured move over and get as much moon as possible. It's looking pretty crispy. We got some nice views of Aristarchus at the bottom left, the 8 o'clock position, Then Copernicus and Kepler, all in the Mare Imbrium, Oceanus, Procellarum region. Right o'clock, 3 o'clock on the right side, Tycho crater looking very prominent, as well as Clavius, Schiller, and Schickard. As well, at the very top, we got, that's Mare Nectaris, and Tranquility, and Serenity. And Posidonius up at the top, like 11 o'clock position. It's pretty cool. So I think it's still about to clear the top of this light pole. So I'll give it a few more minutes and play, what was the song requested here? Dark Realms coming in for Tetrapodum.
Can you feel like the way I can feel? I can feel like waves. I can feel.
All right. That's some dark realms right there. Yeah, so I mostly work in Logic, Logic Pro on the Mac. I've been watching a lot of Ableton videos, though, lately, because it's pretty incredible what you can do with all the chains and the different modular components. So I might get into Ableton at some point, but to be honest, it's like there's so many options already, and so I kind of, I tend to lean on the writing. So if I write something and it's sticking, then I kind of stay with that sound. I kind of don't go through so many sounds, but that's not true. In some songs, I'll write the core lead or the chords, and then I'll go through hundreds of sounds before I'm happy with one particular synth or type of thing. All the tracks that I have with horns, like a couple of them, like this one, for example, I'm always a little nervous about synth horns, but like it's when it's undeniable, when it grooves, You know, like even Feel For You when I played that earlier, like those have synth horns, and like I don't know, if you do it right and you add enough layering and kind of get it into the pocket correctly, it works. But so I was thinking about playing a little bit. Let me know if this sounds in balance. Very elaborate setup with like telescope. I guess the thing is an instrument. Yeah, there are some really incredible telescope setups lately that I've been seeing, just eyeing something for the future. It's both kind of, I'm a little envious, but I also know that like I've been doing this for a long time, and people probably look at my setup and are like, wow, this setup, you know, so everybody's got a level they want to get to. I just feel like writing. I hope that's okay with you. I just feel like writing something interesting. I hope that's okay with you. Yeah, let me know if this sounds okay. Something interesting. If that's okay with you, let me know. I'll try and write something interesting. I just feel like sitting here, and ogling space, time continuum. Acoustic tone, stellar light reaching down to us as we beam our light through coils of night. Home, the neighborhood, hold me down, keep me from the stars. Yo, what's up, Red Rum? See you there. They probably won't hear me across the galaxy. Could take 400 years. Oh, maybe more, you know. I hope they hear my resonant tone. I hope they read my elegant ride through space of love. I wonder. It's just like Empire Vampires. It's just like Empire Vampires. So night away like hunger never ceases. The wonder never ceases. Like campfire, vampire, vampire. It's like campfire, vampire. Say that 10 times. So some clouds coming through. Yeah, throw me some lyrics in the chat room, y'all. What's going on? Play something old maybe for a second. Keep warming up here. What's the one? What's the one? I was stolen by the rock star. Don't know what they're killing for. Staring up at those familiar lights and arms. Don't make me pay the cost. I wanna live another day, of course. But what does it all mean? Is it all just one mad dream? Dying to forget, locking those lips to break them apart. The diamonds in orbit, sparkling tricks to sweeten the spoil. Stuck in the coil. Let me adjust this moon here for a moment. Is it really getting cloudy? Seriously? What's up, Australis? Australis, what's happening? Purple heart, violet heart, purple heart. Compared to planetary size, structure, so time bubbles like carbon life forms in a particular one. Compared to planetary structures, it's hard to remedy the human condition. It's hard to remedy boring writing. I need to get into the flow here, get a little weird. Change it up a bit, tell me if it sounds clear. Let's fly, let's not die just yet. Let's fly, let's not die just yet. Even though the noble glass has sought itself among the brains of our planets, the brains of our planets. Although it soars like cosmic shells remedied into your personal hell of resonant ideas, oscillation. It's easy to lose the thread. It's easy to lose your head. It's easy to lose the thread. Easy to. All along we had the secrets. Don't ask me to tell you about them, though. All along you had the reasons. Don't ask me to tell you now. I won't. Not just yet. Please don't say how this sounds like something you've heard, please. I'm pretty sure it's fresh. Alright, try and loosen up here. I guess it did get cloudy. I thought about coming on talking about some consciousness and some time bubbles. I guess the idea behind time bubbles that I'm not hearing people talk about is this idea that so when we create reality from the ether around us by resonating into it, so the human body is an emitter, and we emit from our eyes to see things. So when we see things, we create we co-create matter. And so what in what way do we store the interval between the co-creation of matter? So when we create this magnetic moment by seeing something, just let's say it's a single photon or an array of photons, this magnetic moment or this dipole moment or frame of reference gets stored. Let's say it gets stored in the cloud or in a human biofield. And so what I've been thinking about lately, I mean, I said it as soon as I thought about it because I did think about it live on stream, was this idea that time is potentially not negentropic, in fact it's entropic, because the memory bubble itself is negative entropy, is stored matter information. So the intervallic layer between memory bubbles are time bubbles, because they are unique to the order of magnitude of each individual. And and then we feel time. There's a lot of other reasons. I'm just thinking through it here because I haven't mentioned it in a while. But I see Mauricio in the chat. What's going on, Mauricio? Welcome. Nice. Astral's Lauren. Got it. Okay. I see. Yeah, we lost our moon here. But I'm still going to play some tunes. Don't matter. Let's see what I can do about the view. I can just turn it up. Yeah, so intervallic time bubbles, I think, is an interesting idea because it allows us to store time. Time becomes almost like a thing, but not really a thing, almost an absence of space. But then the moment that we've stored in our cloud becomes a real thing, and then time determines the distance between each of these created layers, almost like tree rings. What's happening, Easy E? What's going on? That's the idea about time bubbles. It's pretty simple once you know a few things. Genetic code flows through the ether, down coaxial branches, genetic data, coaxial filament, carrying all your memories. Past, I can echo, future unwritten, future unwritten. I'm playing a lot of CF chords tonight, future unwritten. Oh, if you put it real nice, you shower me with love. Oh, mystic clouds, you compound my heart like an additive layer, metronomic radiator. Said I don't hate it when you come up with your generators. I'm trying to think, and when you overthink, you lose the point. Said, babe, don't lose the point. And try and find the groove. In this ritual life, I find the groove. In this organic world, I find the groove. Oh, in this cosmic world, I find the truth. find you. I gotta find you. Oh, shadowy blue. I gotta find a sense of being in the wrong timeline. I gotta find a sense and kick my nose out of the room. I followed my senses to the next freezing juncture. No composure left as I flagrantly shelved our instinct to the right. No time like before. I really know like no time cause before. It don't matter when you climb on this high vibration. It don't matter if you choose to frown. This will turn your love around. This song might change your mind about a few things. This might turn your love around. Turn it back to original vibration. Yeah, that original vibration. Who knows what it really is, you know, like, but at least if you get to a place you're like, all right, we're all one. We're all unified consciousness. What was that original oscillation? I mean, it may have been something weird. That first little wiggle that kicked off everything. These nebulous structures look kinda nice right now. These nebulous structures look kinda nice right now. They look kinda nice right now. Oh, Michael McDuffie is in the chat. It's been far too long. We are all made of bubbles, indeed. Good to see you, Mike. It's been, like I said, quite a while, an interval, one might say. Interval of time between the sight of your icon and mine. I hope it's been a pleasant journey on this Barlow, turning off and on like pellets in the sun. Alright, let's adjust the view here. I guess the moon's back. The moon's back. Sort of. It's still kind of cool, right? Just let's leave it here. It kind of looks frosty. Looks pretty frosty. 11:09 p.m. Saturday night into Sunday morning. So yeah, so this idea of bubbles is very interesting. It's almost even more interesting because the word bubble is just so funny in a way. It's like just a funny word. It induces a bit of a funny vibe. You're just like, I want to giggle when I say the word bubble. But it really, like, when you think about it scientifically in terms of this amorphous biofield aura energetic bubble, and you start realizing that our field is this real thing that we carry around with us. The gospel of the field. I preach the gospel of the field. I need no one to believe the gospel of the field. The gospel of the field. Gospel of the field. Gospel of the field. I don't need no one to believe the gospel of the field. Of the field. I know it's there. I know you might not care about the gospel of the field. Gospel of the field. Pretty simple idea here that we don't keep all our memories inside our brain, but potentially energetically, electrically outside the physical sack of skin the meat bag, so to speak. So we're a meat bag within the mind. What's a weird way to present that? Meat bag in the mind. That's pretty dissonant. Maybe something like, more like this. Saw you backstage, like a floating, ironic page stripped out of someone's life. It was a story I'd sort of seen before, maybe something a little different this time. But I said no more, 'cause you're a meat bag in my mind. Oh, you're a meat bag, such a meat bag in your mind. So original, your shape, the distance between your eyes, so incredible, your fate, just ever so slightly differenter than mine. But we're all the same shape underneath, we're all the same love incomplete, we're all just a contrast of everything that we need. Like I said before, it's all a time bubble. In your heartache, it's a time bubble. Like my heart oscillates, it's my time bubble. Is this live local moon? It certainly is. Certainly is live right now, glowing over saturated. Not saturated, overblown. I need to adjust the settings, is what I'm saying here. What's up? More Jello, please. Can I have more Jello, please? Nice to see ya. Live jams on a Saturday night. All right, now it's clear again, so let's see. Wobbly wobbly, almost there. Wiggly wobbly. I'll get this out the way. Try and make this pretty good. You know I put in all my effort every time for you. I know you ask, please God, make it good. Oh yeah, I'll try. You know I done try my best. Oh mama, I done try my best. I think this time we're gonna get high. I'm pretty sure some of you already are. I know most of these songs revolve around a theme of getting inebriated. My human friends inebriated. Ellie, when I see you there in the chat room, girl, what's going on? I hope you're doing right. Doing fine, I see you there, Kimmy. Kimmy too. Now everybody's showing up. Lovely to see you. So yeah, Moon's being kind of finicky, I gotta say. I was like, what? Now we got this dingy, brownish looking thing. I'm just gonna roll with it. Hope everybody's doing great. So let us see. Mary, Mary, bubble, bubble. The moon is a bubble. Or the moon, well, the moon is a stony bubble. But the moon certainly has a very thin memory bubble around it, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they say it's a very weak magnetic field, but magnetic field could really be the memory field. Very possible. Something while I'm still alive, something that gets you going, something that gets you high. I've repeated nonsense, but don't matter, 'cause we ain't too, we got our pride, alright. It's hard to conceive in the midst of your flow. It's hard to believe the struggle of being an artist with means, with time, with no structure. It's tough, maybe it ain't. Doesn't seem so. Hey, thanks, Serious Business. If you're new here, by the way, Serious Business, thanks for hanging out. And please check out the archive and of this channel, the playlists, if you'd like, and also the description of the video for more information. And just ask questions in the chat if you feel like it. So yeah, it's a bit finicky, like I said, not too bad. I'm thinking about which song to play right now, or just continue to noodle here for y'all. Let's see if I can make something funny out of this. Also, let me know if the balance is good between the voice and the guitar, if you don't mind. I still love cheese. Munster, if I remember. I've heard the thought before, and it makes me wonder why I think the moon looks like a rock, and everyone keeps telling me about fromage. I think it looks like a sponge, if anything. Pretty sure it ain't cheese. I have a vivid imagination too, and I would truly be with you, my friend. Just I need some convincing evidence of fromage existing on the moon. Oh, fromage existing on the moon. Eternity, I'm hungry. I won't say no to a slice. From here to the end of my journey, I'm ready to eat real nice, but I don't see a shred of evidence, not even a piece of string cheese on the moon. Not at all. I don't see it. I don't see it. Alright, so that's the moon cheese moon, not a cheese moon song. Like, I get it, like, it's in the culture, but, no pun intended, but not so sure it looks like cheese. I got funny names in space. Things that make you wanna chuckle. They got funny names in space. Why name it like that if you know the consequence? Ain't no one gonna learn that way. Ain't nobody gonna learn that way. If you're always on the edge of your seat, ain't gonna learn that way. They're naming planets so hilariously. Okay, so I gotta get up and change this again. Again. Oh, we're really clouded out, are we, friends? What's the deal? What's the deal, yo? Yeah, I guess fully clued. Look at that, nothing. All right, we'll give it a little bit. See what the deal is. Moon Chi-Chis. Just trying to think of something to play here. Space came along, saved my life, a light I had never known turned me on. Despite what everyone said, I found space and saved my life. No misfortune died, no heady nature. I was born as a guide for my human structure. And I tuned in so patiently, and the universe unfolded. I tuned so gracefully, and I saw a universe unfolding. I happened to share it with you. I happened to share it with you. Who could hide such a view? I decided to share it with you. And we glows for bright like my green light coming through, red and blue. Tap out circles upon drum circles and hold the hands of generational pride. For the tears like mothers slide. Don't waste our human race, but don't try and save me. 'Cause I've got my own direction now. I'm a little distracted with this moon here. I'm like, is it too bright and should I adjust it, or is it too cloudy? I don't know. Let's just move it down a little bit, see what's going on. I think I might get myself a drink here. Play one of some pre-recorded songs. Pre-recorded, so weird to say that. Some regular songs. Something new. This one is A fine fixer. I'll be back in a couple. Alright, so I'm back here. I want to say thank you to Michael Duffy. Appreciate that, man. So kind of you to say. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, I said Michael Duffy. Michael McDuffy. Duffy, just nickname, but says, "Hey man, just wanted to tell you that you inspire me as an artist, like a muse. Knowing that you're here and doing your thing in the most profoundly authentic way gives me life." I just like, that's so freaking awesome. Such a nice comment, and gosh, that's really why I do this, to connect with y'all and to share this. So it really, like, that comment gives me life. How about that? I'm trying to react sincerely. Sometimes it really is difficult for somebody like me to like react normally. I feel like my brain is just so filled with just things all at once. Maybe a little bit of autism thrown in there, but it really touches me when people write these kind comments to me. So thank you, if I can just say that. But yeah, let's see. Let's keep playing some live tunes here. Now the moon's coming back all of a sudden. All of a sudden. So I told y'all I'm actually archiving the channel. So I'm in the process of writing down every title of every video and double backing it up, and it's just like this very long process, but it's so much fun to really go back and look at all the shows up until this point, and just seeing all the different chat rooms from way back and seeing all the old faces, old names. It's been quite a journey, even though it's not that long, to be honest. It's like 6-7 years now, really about 6 years. And but it does feel like an entire lifetime of scoping the moon and getting to know space a little more intimately. But also a journey of writing music and sharing it with a community that appreciates it. That's another big part of it for me. So yeah, for some reason I'm having like a little glitch tonight where I had to do the pop-out chat here because I kept typing F and it would like full screen the browser. Just out of nowhere, of course, rando glitch. But so if I seem a little distracted, that's what's going on. So no Saturn, unfortunately, Mary. Out of view for me right here. Maybe I don't know. Maybe tomorrow or the day after, I'll get back on the porch and do some planets. All right. Old chats. We did that together. And you know I played this song quite a few times at your behest. How could I prove the hidden yield without the news to fear? My heart was cool and left no residue. Catch me if you fall, catch me when you're low. My scope just likes to go without asking anybody's permission. As friends who used to know. Catch me if you fall, catch me when you're low. I got control over. It's a simulation, wake up in solitary, wake up. It's imaginary, oh man, don't you know? Your lives are worth more than this. Catch me if you fall, catch me when you're low. Yeah, serious business. So I would be zooming right now if we had the view. And we still got some more to go here. I haven't lost complete view on the window, and I don't know, it could clear up a bit in a bit. So maybe we'll do that. I remember when the skies used to be clear. I remember when everything used to be alright. Yeah, I remember in another world, like 20 years ago, like 50 years ahead of time, fast forward in a lightning glow. I'll still find you, I'll still find you, I'll still find you, sitting on your porch, smoking a big fat joint. I'll still find you, eating ice cream cone, hanging down at the beach, waiting for fireworks. But on a cosmic scale, I don't know anyone like you, and I hope to find you when I'm through. On a cosmic scale, I know I will truly find no place to go without your big green eyes. Find no place to go without completely wrong chord. That's what we can't go out with. Let's see. Mongolian vodka. Where are we getting with that? So yeah, totally clouded out here at the moment. Feeling a little delirious, a little restless in the fingers. So just messing around. So yeah, talking about lots of things. I think the eclipse stream was really good. It was interesting to watch that. Also fascinating that it's another 3 years before our next lunar eclipse. So if you didn't check that out, I got to stream that early morning, late night, a few nights ago. And I think today I finally recovered from sleeping at 6, 7 in the morning. It just really wrecks you. But before that, I'd done a couple of streams where I scribbled a bunch of field structures, the oscillation between self and other. I discussed some of these ideas about how we have this contrast. We're not even visible without our background, the same way words are not visible without the page. And this instantiation of consciousness as humans is really fascinating to me. So I want to work more on it, moronic. But yeah, tonight I was thinking about it, but I also feel kind of just like a little tired, to be honest. I don't know, the weather kind of got very gray and then very nice, and today I think I just walked around a lot and got pretty sleepy. I'm going to chill with y'all a little bit longer here, maybe till midnight. I'm seeing a bit of moon, so taking the opportunity to get some shots and to play some tunes. How is everyone else feeling? Let me just play some something here, something. What if we do Keep feeling like it's kind of dark and I want to play something fun, a little bit more fun. I see the moon's return, get inspired, I feel the nights come back, and now I'm wired, I know it's your choice to feel all groovy. I know. Said I wandered through this dream, fly away from a sinking body. I got stranded in this place, and back from time and space I was in line for another party. Then Mama done came along and asked her, where the hell y'all taking my moon to? Got nowhere to hide, and nothing sounds pretty good to me. I'm switching those lyrics, but it's all good. In the light of the moon, come down. Oh, pretty mama, come on, don't make them come round. In the depth of your frequency star. Of the moon. Show on earth, it requires 1,000 instructions. Oh my God. Greatest show on earth. I'll try this one more time. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the greatest show on earth. It was your lively intervention, your favorite since birth. The longest chair in my confession. Speculate the words of a lifetime in search of good intentions. You'll find out what to do. If you don't, man, then you screw. You'll burn in search of the truth. Mama, oh, let's make them come round in the depth of your frequency star. the light of the moon. That's your business. That's your call. That's your fate. That's your worry. Not mine. In the light. In the light. In the light of the moon. Yeah. Alright. Being silly here. Just having some fun. You know how I do. What's up next? Let's see. You know why I've been beaten from the hot eyes. No, no lie. I've been thinking that you're all night. Lies, no lies. I've been thinking that you should be mine. So call me up, up, up. Up, 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 up. And let's get down, 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 down. Yo, down, down, down. So call me up, up, up. Up, 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 up. And let's get down, 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 down. Yo, down, 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 Je t'attends mon amour sensuel, qu'il avant que la même si même chez ton nom bizarrement à l'école on s'oubliait. Je suis la même que dans la volée chaque jour. Je t'attends mon amour immense électrique appelé les mots magnétiques. Mon amour magnifique, ton amour magnétique. Cool running, no water. Why, cool water, whatever it takes, please. I've been reading from your hot eyes, no lie, beaten by your hot eyes, no lie, no lie, no lie. So call me up, 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 up. A little pup, pup, pup action. Pup, pup, pup. I feel I always resort to the classics here, but is it like, let's see, what haven't I played in a while? All right, let's try a chat room song here. I know I'm a little bit ahead of y'all, but I'm gonna try and find a riff or some sort of chord structure, and then y'all throw me a few lines in here. It doesn't have to be too overly wrought or overly thought. I'll figure something out here, something fun. Start on the life with you. Let's just let us start. I'll set up a quick just a structure for us to lean on for, and skipping one, rewind into the echo. It's just none. See who's gonna throw out the first one here. Y'all started it. I already sang something like that, so let's try something different here. I'm just gonna keep playing till somebody writes something clever. Shouldn't be too hard, just take a sip. Write a few words and I'll make it fit. It can't be that difficult. Oh, it comes in waves like sympathetic words on a page. Come on, chat room, save me here. I'm drowning in solipsistic incubation periods, trying to come up with linguistic gymnastics to fit the room and the vibe. I'm sitting on a crater having a party. I'm looking over the high mountainside. I'm waiting for a friend. I'm waiting for a friend. I'm waiting for my friends. Sitting on a crater having a party. I'm waiting for a friend. I'm waiting for a friend. That was a good one. Took you about 13 seconds. Give me something miraculous to say. I'll chat publicly, that's what you want me to be. A mouthpiece against the naysayers and the fascist science community. Did I just say that? Maybe. They're not really fascist. Fascista. Fascista. That's it. This video was unmonetized, now it's demonetized. Let's see. Greatest make for good acoustics to for sure. Lunar Night. Greatest make for good acoustics too for sure. Greatest make for good acoustics too, for sure. Greatest make for lovely worlds, invader garage. I wonder how much they'll charge for a hotel in a lunar crater. Oh, Moon B&B, I coined it, don't take it. Moon B&B, you know the AI is making it. Oh, Moon B&B, let me rent the first room, invest in you soon before it's all taken over. Invest in fast foods, maybe solar Eskimos riding cranes through the backyards of Mare Crisium. Cancel critique. Can't even read that. Cancel Katrina. Cancel critiques always fail. Cancel critiques. What a Loaded sentence. I don't even know what that means. Cancel critiques. You mean people trying to cancel people fails, or people critiquing about cancel culture fails? Solar Eskimo is confused by your statements. Please elaborate. Please elaborate. Alright, so we got our moon back. I'm going to take a little break here. Let's zoom in a bit, and I'll play some pre-recorded stuff. What's with this pre-recorded thing tonight? This one's called Desert Fires. Tried to do a chat room song, but try it again later.
Some lacking out what mystery or love. In between the record, I found lighthead turned to dust. Rockets on the beach, oh, we knew just when to leave. I believe what's told, our story carries out. One breath so inspiring. Oh, it's nothing like it thought it though. One day there's nothing left to prove. All this love we find, falling into face with you. Long enough, but I'm gonna lose my mind. Cleared out the evidence, uncover the shock this time. Like it is a fire. Say you to love me for so long. Oh, like my desert fire. Lights in the distance, I walk slowly up the stairs. See ahead a lion sit alone upon his bed. Oh, fragile beast, I know it's been so long. What time is it? Time is it? I know I will cast sight of it, so go on, inform. Oh, sand is like the mind and scattered soul. Now let it go. Sigh like I'm reaching out. I left my home for 7 miles. We trail along for 7 lives. Let the whole heart sing. Uncover the shock this time. The light doesn't fire. Say you love him for so long. Like there's a fire. There's a fire. There's a fire. There's a fire. Never mind this old honeymoon, we can make some more. Make yourself a beautiful subtle energies. I told you once, we never, you know this forever. There was always electrica. It was always electrica. It was always electrica. It was always electrica.
All right, a little bit of bougie boogie. You know, like getting away with a chorus like that, it was always electrical. Pretty tricky, gotta say. But when I sang it, I was like, man, that's got to be what it is. It's always been electrical, but I figure hop in here for a moment because I'm just remembering a few things I did want to talk about briefly, which was that over the last few days I've been watching videos. I always do. I always study. I'm constantly studying. And I want to say what's up to Morgan Ellis in the chat as well. Welcome. And whoever else is hanging out with us, if I haven't said hi. So just got rid of the focal reducer. No, actually I didn't. I got rid of the extender tube that brought us a bit closer here. So serious business. We can do some more zooms in a second. I just want to make sure we get a nice wide shot so you can see all the different regions. And it just made me think of electrical scarring in terms of how the moon's surface was created or how it was formed. And how what I was watching is U.S. National Archive YouTube channel. And I was watching these different I was looking up things basically like old videos put out by the government about space programs. So about Voyager, about Cassini, about Juno, etc. And it made me, one I learned a lot, which I'd already sort of known about, but I hadn't really done enough work to really realize like what Voyager had completely like I'd watched a bunch of stuff about Voyager in the past and Voyager 1 and 2, but I did a complete refresher on it. So just one fact that I noticed, I think that's important, was that these documentaries that were produced in the late 60s, early 70s, even in the 80s, they just had a completely different tone and the way they spoke about facts about the moon or about space. It was a lot more intellectual. They still simplified it, but they didn't talk to you as if you were an idiot. If you watch contemporary documentaries, it really sounds like they dumb it down to such a point where it's almost annoying. And so that's one thing I noticed. They were talking about the moon, for example, and how, you know, the Apollo missions, but not just the Apollo missions. I don't know if any of y'all have looked into stuff prior to Apollo, like the Surveyor missions, for example. And you see some of these images, and it's really changed my opinion about a lot of things, but I think specifically that they used to talk about the moon in a way more serious way, in a way more like articulate way, when I'm not being very articulate now, but they did mention a couple of things worth noting, which is the features that I've called out over these past years that almost immediately, just immediately stuck out to me. We're seeing it right here at the 7 o'clock position with Aristarchus. Like, as soon as I streamed for the first time and we were looking at the moon and we saw Aristarchus together, or Tycho, or Copernicus, you start to wonder, you're like, wait, and that was an impact crater? And like, when did it happen? How did it happen? Are there any other ideas about it? Specifically Aristarchus, and the other one would be, I guess, all the different like sinuous rills, for example, like Valles Alpes at the top left. I think it's, about the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock position, you'll see Plato crater, and then if you follow that, that's where Valles Alpes is. Then the two parallel rays coming off of Tycho to the right, Tycho. What are those? How are those formed? And so it made me think, one, that they really don't talk about electric scarification being a possibility at all in these government archive videos about the moon, but they do talk about these specific regions, and I think that's what's interesting to me. It seemed like as I was watching them, I'm trying to articulate a kind of nuanced point here because it's not obvious if you haven't watched them, but if you have watched them, and I'll link them, I'll maybe make a playlist about it, but you'll see that like they reference these places very specifically. So the narrator is talking about how they really want to figure out what's going on with the snake or whatever, but that's really Schroeder's Valley inside Aristarchus. And they talk about Rima Hyginus, which we've seen before, Huygens Sword. Just any of the really like long, weird structures, like not weird, but what look like channels or like wiggling sinuous rills. So sinuous rills, in a way, kind of were up for debate even in the 70s. And to me, that's really fascinating because people no longer kind of talk about it as if like we have to figure out what's going on here. Is it lava tubes? Is it water flow on the moon? Or is it electric scarification? Which, no mainstream will ever say it's electric scarification, but possibly. So, I don't know, it led me kind of back a little bit to Thunderbolts Project to rewatch lunar scarification videos and Mars scarification videos, which made me think of Mars because they do a feature on Mars and they very quickly gloss over Valles Marineris, which if you look at Valles Marineris with contemporary images, granted this was in the 70s, but they had a good shot of it. They just I was just like literally waiting for them to show it. So Valles Marineris on Mars is very difficult to explain away by simple tectonic events or any type of event really, because it's just like one continuous massive scar on Mars. So the scar on Mars, Aristarchus, and a bunch of other features were actually talked about, but really it's this kind of very strange, I don't want to say it's a conspiracy, but it really is like this thing where they just can't even consider talking about the fact that it might be electric arcing, simply because people don't understand where the electricity could have come from in space to create the features on the moon. The answer to that would be the fact that I've mentioned this before, but Jeffrey from Stellar Metamorphosis, Jeffrey Walensky, who champions the stellar metamorphosis idea, suggested that if Earth was a star, it actually gravitationally it locked the moon when it was a star, and therefore this type of energy flux could have come from a very active cooling off star that was turning into Earth and captured a moon, and the moon could be way, way older than that. Right now, we live in this reality where the mainstream understanding or the simulations that are put out or the videos that are put out, and pretty much everybody repeats the same idea, is that there was an object that got hit by another object and it created these two very lava balls, basically, the Earth and the Moon, that cooled down and created the Earth-Moon system from the same stuff at the same time. And there's just something about that doesn't really, just feels like an added-on solution where they're just like, let's try and simulate this thing that we think is right, and they've come up with this idea that seems like it might work. But alternatively, no one really talks about different ideas here. Pretty much, Thunderbolts has mentioned it, and I think See the Pattern, Gareth ended up mentioning it too. But this is something that I've talked about more than a dozen times on the show, but I think electric scarring, I feel like maybe I moved away from it a little bit, or maybe I just I assume that everyone sort of thinks about it like that now, so I'm trying not to overstate the fact, but it really is one of the most profound things possible. Is like, how was the surface of the moon formed? And it's kind of like just a giant question just sitting there that we have a ton of ability to research and look into and ponder. So that's a little thought on that. I feel like there's a lot more in there, but if you look up just like some of the National Archive stuff and NASA JPL circa like 60s, 70s, 80s, it's actually quite fascinating. I mean, if I'm confessing even more, as somebody who's constantly questioned the validity of space missions and the public space mission, space propaganda machine, you have to look at these videos and think like, well, they did get some of these crafts to these planets. Like, it's very hard to get away from the fact that that is the case. But the fact that that's the case also makes it more difficult to wonder why we live in a very closed off and gated kind of astronomical world right now, where people are not really so sure about how space works. Agencies say, trust us, we'll figure it out. But then you have all these giant telescopes and agencies that are completely operating behind closed doors, have limited or maybe infinite budgets, who knows, no one really knows. And it seems like we've gone backwards in terms of space exploration. Yeah, let me know what you're thinking about what I'm talking about. I don't see any comments about it, but I had this on my mind because, so yeah, there was another thing that I want to talk about, which was, so for example, the Cassini missions that went to Saturn. There's a fascinating documentary about the Cassini missions, and you really have to, I mean, there's just no way that that's a fake mission, right? Like, it's very real that they sent this incredible craft built by all these different companies to Saturn and got these incredible images and lots more, right? So you got to think, you're like, okay, so the human race has the capacity to bring together a bunch of people that can achieve this straight up miracle of a mission. And not that I ever thought Cassini and these things were fake. Like, I just want to preface it, like, I don't think space is fake, and I don't think space travel is fake. I just think that there are certain discrepancies with the stories that are publicly available. And the discrepancies being the fact that it seems like at the very juncture where money is allocated to space missions, there are people pulling strings there. And that's really what it comes down to. So I think about it like that, like, so these missions were all real, let's say. Even, let's say, Apollo, people walking on the moon. I mean, people might think I'm crazy to even question that. Like, it seems like, okay, let's say Apollo is real, and I'm all in. And basically, my premise is that robots can go anywhere in space. Anything robotic, we can basically send out to the edges of the solar, to the heliopause, right? I'm just rambling here a little bit. But the idea of sending humans to the moon has always struck me as something like miraculous, just something beyond the pale. And for some reason, we kind of live in this reality where everything has advanced technologically, but somehow the race to the moon kind of ended years ago. Now, granted, the last few years it's kind of sort of been revived, but it's been revived over and over and over again over the last, basically my whole life. It's sort of been, we're going back, we promise. And I don't want to also be cynical about it, because I do feel like, one, I'd like it to be real. I'm not one of those people that wants conspiracies to occur. Like, conspiracies do occur, but it'd be nice if they didn't, especially when it came to landing on the moon. So I'd like us to be on the moon. I'd love to see what it was like if we have a rover on the moon. And then, so the discrepancy for me is the fact that it seems like we've sort of regressed in terms of space technology. And the second part of that is the funding side of it. So really, really, if you boil it all down, it's never really willpower, and it's never really technological capability. It's typically a funding issue. So my point about the Cassini missions is that, yes, it's like, I want to preface it by saying Cassini missions are real and are amazing. Like, really not, there are almost no words to describe like how incredible that mission is and the footage from it. But at the very get-go, they tried to limit the budget, and they tried to limit the instruments, and they made it as difficult as possible from the upper management downwards to make this mission happen. Now, it's a sign of the perseverance of the team of making this happen in such an incredible way, right? But at the same time, why send a mission to Saturn and then cut the budget? It's just like this weird thing, and it happens constantly in politics. You'd say, like, I'm crazy to even point it out because that's the norm. But to me, like, it just seems so crazy how, like, we're building a rocket to go to freaking Saturn, and it's going to work, and it's perfect, and you got, like, a dozen countries on board, and it's just going to happen. And you're like, no, we're actually also going to limit the budget here. And to me, it reeks of corporate American greed and return on investment. And I just never understood how you're both clamoring to get to Saturn, but also you're going to limit it right at the get. And I imagine it's the same thing. Like this could be the reason it seems like programs have regressed. But anyway, a little anecdote about watching some of the National Archive, different, like the Voyager stuff, the Cassini missions. It actually really touched me in certain places. That's weird. It touched me in certain parts of the documentaries because, like, you really feel for these people that have spent 12 years trying to get a spacecraft to turn. And this spacecraft is like fucking 100 million miles away, and they're just like firing a rocket, and they're like crossing their fingers and hoping this thing works, and it works way more than people imagine. So how do we live on an Earth with such both limitations and such advancements simultaneously? It makes me think of like the contrast, and it makes me think of like, again, like, is it so confusing, or does it really come down to the bottleneck of the purse strings? Somebody says, well, we're going to give you a bit of money for this, but there's this whole other bunch of money that's just being used for something else. And that's where I feel like, and even the guy in the documentary, actually, even this guy on the Cassini mission, it's actually fascinating because they're talking about how to use the money. I mean, look, it's of course human ingenuity that they could split the budget and still make Cassini-Huygens rather. But at the same time, like, why invest in it at all if you're going to limit the camera and you're limit the science and limit the instruments right out the gate? Like, just never made sense to me, especially because the money is coming from people who can basically print money. So it's not like we are literally building the rockets ourselves, you know? Anyway, there are lots of thoughts about that, but still very fascinating and just amazing to see the... Okay. So one further path on this is that the data assessment from Cassini and Voyager is just such an odd assessment when it comes to science. And maybe because, again, I always say that maybe I'm weird, but there are certain things about science that I love and certain things that I really don't vibe with. And these ideas that... what am I thinking of specifically? I just mean, like, yeah, it's really just the contrast between the fact that they're both sending this advanced machine, but at the same time they're in total wonder at this machine. So maybe it's the specialization of instrument builders that all come together, again, it sounds like not hypocritical, but almost mean to say that I don't want to be excited for them. Of course they should be super excited. It's very cynical to imagine these teams would be dreary if the robots on Mars performed a correct turn, you know? It's a very nuanced place to watch our systems behind closed doors, but also achieving these amazing things. It makes it quite challenging to know, like, what exactly is going on. But anyway, that was a long, long ramble about watching these documentaries, but I got a lot out of it. Serious Business says, what separates atmospheric gas from the vacuum of space? So I think vacuum of space is just like a term, a series of words. It's a group of words, it's a phrase that people use to prove a point. Clearly, vacuum is not empty. Space is not empty. Everything is connected via currents and electricity and filaments and wires. So vacuum of space is just a pressure modulation or pressure modality. If something is more vacuous or sucking or not sucking or expelling. But space is flowing in both directions. So I feel like the separation of atmospheric gases is due to the fact that the layering of shells of an atomic structure, if you apply that to planets and stars, the elements and the molecules arrange themselves as they coalesce along the filaments into the correct layers. That's why every planet's core is very heavy, and as you go outwards, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter until it's basically invisible to the naked eye. But then you see the magnetic fields and then the invisible infrared fields. So every single object, if you take it to be a planet or a hydrogen atom or a human being, radiates into a shell, is a radiant object. And so we funnel energy in and out. We ourselves are wormholes. Sirius says, how do spacecraft get beyond the Van Allen belt? Again, I think like when we say Van Allen belt, it's almost become so tainted at this point with conspiracy talk and non-conspiracy talk. So even Van Allen, if you read the story about it, like he said one thing and then he didn't say, and then he retracted his statement. So it's become very mired. But really every object has a magnetic field. The Earth has a magnetic field. And the Earth's magnetic field, because electricity attracts and arranges particles along the magnetic field lines, we have these high-density magnetic fields that protect the Earth in layers, so nested donuts. And when you look at these, so the solar wind, so to speak, or the radiation coming from the sun, pushes our donuts, of the donuts around Earth. How does spacecraft go through it? Really, it's like us living in a system that's fully radiated right now. Like, why don't computers turn off? Or you need a high impact, like an EMP pulse to turn off instruments. And even then, these instruments can, not all the time, but can come back online. So therefore, I think like it's possible. Mainly, I believe that it's either possible. I think I'm doing it from the reverse. I think you can't fake the photos from Cassini, and even the moon pictures, you can't really fake them. It's more difficult to fake them. Now, walking on the moon is like this whole other specific thing where it's like human beings, like flesh and bone on the surface of a planet. Seems like it's like this massive jump in logic and reason. And it almost falls in a different category. But the idea of a robot making it to Mars seems more reasonable. And so therefore I justify the fact that like you can't really fake these images and the telemetry. And I mean, it's such a monumental thing to think that something like Cassini-Huygens, all the media and all the staff and all the people that worked on something like Cassini-Huygens that went to Saturn for that long was fraudulent at any level. It just doesn't make any sense. So in that sense, something like Cassini, which is one of the biggest spacecraft, got out of the Van Allen radiation belts, and therefore it has to be able to be done. Now, can people fly through certain layers around the Earth? It's hard to say as I don't want to say a serf. We're not serfs necessarily, but as just a backyard astronomer, I can't tell, like, can people leave Earth, go, 100,000 miles outside of Earth without turning into jelly? I don't know, maybe. It seems like, I guess they can, but at the same time, it's still kind of this wondrous achievement that can't be replicated somehow. And we'll see. Again, like, I could be completely wrong, and then Artemis makes it, and we have people on the moon in a few years, and all of this talk is pretty much useless. So I've kind of learned to just temper my judgment about whether man walked on the moon. But I will say that, like, watching these documentaries reinforced my belief that these space missions are, even if they're a complete cover for another type of technology that is man-made, that these space missions are real and are just like absolutely like incredible and miraculous in their making and achievement. Just stunning. I mean, especially they literally landed on Titan. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. No matter where the planets may be, no matter what size, it's still like, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, I think I've missed a point earlier, which is none of the assessments of this include electricity, include coaxial filaments, include magnetic field and the structure of the field, so the donuts and the hypotrochoid. They don't really talk about the connected filaments of the universe. They don't talk about stellar metamorphosis or where planets come from. They don't talk about Io or Titan or any of the moons being formed by electricity. Fascinating stuff about Cassini and Enceladus. I realized that Wal Thornhill constantly talks about Enceladus looking like a walnut. But yeah, it just makes it a little more complicated. But I think at the end of the day, if you realize, like, you made your body, you made your eyeballs, you live within the mind, we live eternal because we're basically the same energy. None of this really matters, like going to different planets and stuff like that. I mean, it is important, but it's not, you don't have to end up going to Saturn, or man doesn't have to walk on the moon in order for us to be complete. It would be nice, but let's see, just reading here. Tetrapodum is saying, Eliwin says, gated thinkers are baffled. Yeah, exactly, they're baffles. Free thinkers do not get enough voice. It's pretty true. Space race needs new sneakers, I agree. Sneakers are a pretty big business. $80 billion. Is it? Or $8 billion? Maybe it's $8 billion. No, it could be 80 billion. Huh. Let's see. Tetrapodum says, current political games tend to hinder certain development, but there's much to hope for even now. Regarding the topics at hand, I never comprehend how people dispute every single point of data taken. It's just, I think it's because it's easier like that, right? It's easier to get into a conspiracy mindset and say that, like, the entire thing is corrupt, as opposed to saying, well, it's very, very corrupt in one way, and on one hand, though, like, this other stuff is legitimate. Case in point, the data from Cassini. Are you going to say, like, oh, I don't trust that governments gate science and have their secret space program, and say at the same time all the data from Cassini is fake? That would be foolish, I think. A serious business, I know that sounds convoluted, but it just seems like, I mean, I did preface it by saying it's not just that they went through the magnetic rings, is that we exist as humans with all this machinery within magnetic fields. So it's not like just because there's a Van Allen radiation belt, that just because of high energy radiation that things are going to fail, or that things can't pass through a radiation belt, so to speak, or a region of space that is like a couple of thousand. I mean, think about it. If a spacecraft is going 12,000 miles an hour, which some of them end up being, or 10,000 miles an hour, they're going through, like, I know this is not what is typical in the circles, is that doubting the Van Allen radiation belt passages is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of one of those things that people want to think is just like, it's either impossible or it's possible. But I'm thinking about it just reasonably. Is one, the fact that you have these robotic crafts on different planets, so they have to get there somehow, even if space has all these different parameters. And two, we can exist in magnetic fields, and it depends on, like, what level radiation this really is. So there are narratives. I mean, I even, like, I don't know if any of y'all know Jarrah White, you know, Jarrah White, who spent this Australian, I think he's Australian, yeah, and he did this whole thing about the Apollo missions and got into it, became a geologist. Anyway, it's a pretty deep rabbit hole, but if you check out Jarrah White's stuff someday, just forewarned. But either way, anyway, he did a whole assessment on the radiation belts and stuff that, like, would be more advanced than anything you've seen on it. And he thinks it would kill people. So there are people who put forth very scientific and logical reasons that say, like, it's impossible for humans to get through it. But then again, you have tons of other people that are saying, yes, you can get through it, and it's been done before. I'll tell you personally, I have no idea, but I lean towards the fact that it is possible, simply because these craft are going to Jupiter and Saturn. They have to. There's just no way to get photos of the planets like that. They have to be close up, and they have to be in orbit. Like the rings of Saturn from the Cassini missions, just unless they're, I mean, it's not possible, basically, to forge that work. I can tell you all the conspiracy stuff, but what's the point of proving the conspiracy? Let's say you prove the conspiracy, nobody can go through the Van Allen radiation belts. Then you're done for the day, you know what I mean? you're never done for the day because there's more data coming out. So you're either going to say that, like, impossible to go through the Van Allen radiation belts, ha, I told you so, I'm done. Or you say that, okay, it's an interesting topic, it's complicated, and we have this data coming in from spacecraft that have clearly passed through the Van Allen radiation belts. I think that's more reasonable than to say, like, oh, let's just be clever about it and call out the conspiracy. Let's see. Again, like, I don't know if you're hearing it, but I'm trying to indulge in this idea that it's very challenging to accept that people walked on the moon and then no one else could do it. I totally understand that vibe, but when you look at the actual evidence and you really just say, look, I'm going to take a measured approach to this, it's very hard to just say, I mean, coming from whatever you want to believe, I definitely used to think for sure, it was like, no way we walked on the moon. Like, I was absolutely a moon landing denier. But I've changed because it's very hard to say one way or another. I've looked at all the evidence. You can take that, take it or leave it. But I've looked into a ton of evidence, and as somebody who's very skeptical and willing to call out conspiracies, again, like UFOs being man-made, I know there are UFOs, but maybe man-made. But I just don't know how to say that, like, moon landing's fake for sure. It's very hard to say that. And it also limits it. It limits everything. Once you say that and you're like, I'm settled in my own opinion, it'll never be true, then you've basically cut yourself off from ever learning anything beyond that. And it's very complex. It's not this easy thing either. Hey there, Silent Murmur. Nice to see you. Tetrapodium says, guess what kept us from the moon was actual budget. So, see, that's where maybe I can go along with a bit of a, like, conspiracy or a plan, because it's like, wait, again, why have any budget if you're going to limit it? Right? Why give NASA less and less budget over the years? There are charts where you can see NASA budget, military spending side by side for 60 years, and you see that there's an intentionality here where one side gets a ton of money and the other doesn't. It's not the taxpayers that decided how much NASA gets. So there is a bit of a conspiracy there in terms of, like, the truncation and the limiting of clarity, mission goal. Like, there is a truncation of it for sure. There absolutely is. But it doesn't mean automatically that everything gets thrown out. Kimmy says, well, I don't understand why we can go to planets with missions and even Neptune and poor demoted Pluto, but we can get to the moon forever. So again, I'm willing to go there because for me it does still feel weird. Like I said, I kind of opened it with, like, God damn, we went to Saturn and Cassini is just, and Voyager, but it's so hard to send even just a regular rover to the moon. So I do have that kind of level of, like, I want to know, I want to figure it out. At the same time, you watch some of these documentaries about how these missions happened, and you realize that the people who made the missions are getting their budgets slashed. So it's not really the people who made Cassini happen that are creating the so-called conspiracy bottleneck. The conspiracy bottleneck is that there's a public space program that is funded just enough to do amazing things and keep everybody kind of distracted, while at the same time other stuff is being developed. That seems to, I think, a little more nuanced of a conspiracy idea. But it does mean that something like Cassini and maybe likely Apollo was all real. And I know it's, like, really weird. We live in such a strange reality where, like, talking about this is tainted so badly. It really is. Talking about landing on the moon, like, people have such, like, and I know people who talk to me and they ask me, and they kind of want me to agree that it was a conspiracy, and then others are like, you're nuts for even considering that it's a conspiracy. So people, it's such a, I don't want to say it's a divisive topic, which, I mean, it is, but truly to be in a reality where we have missions on Pluto and, not, well, we do. Like, we're going to have missions to Pluto, and we don't have consensus on whether people walked on the moon. And I don't think people are stupid for questioning it. I really think, like, I question it still. Yeah, so budget tyranny. Yeah, budget tyranny is just like the strangest thing because it's almost counterproductive. Because why not just get the best data ever? If you're gatekeeping the science, just fund it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Let's see, Silent Murmur says, NASA became somewhat of a satellite manufacturing corporation, so funding is based on the projected yield of their function. Well, that's what I mean, like, but at the same time, again, the budget for other things exploded and became massive as years went on. Like, the taxpayer did not make that call. So why institute NASA, get to the moon, and then say, well, that was fun? Like, it doesn't, and, you know, of course, the narrative thus far makes it a very comfortable position to sit in and say, what do you mean? It makes sense. They were posturing during the Cold War. They paid NASA more than they ever paid them before. And there was willpower there government-wise. But then I would say look deeper, and you realize that there was a lot more going on than just that. There was the entire Russian mission timeline that went along with this, as well as the lead-up to the moon. There were there's a whole German contingency of the space program. They never talk about what other countries were really kind of doing at the time. I've looked into a bunch of this stuff. There are things about this story that it's not that they don't ring true. It's just that it's far more complicated than people imagine. But at the same time, I think we've come to accept this idea that no, people at the top who provide budgets just are going to decide the importance of things. And that, I mean, at the very premise of that is flawed in terms of space exploration. It just doesn't make any sense when you're a government that prints your own money, and taxpayers would absolutely fund a space mission versus like pork barrel spending versus any type of like there are so many programs that got passed or bills that got passed that would be dwarfed in comparison to like a Saturnian mission. So philosophy and ethics and morality almost never play a part in this dissemination of budget. And to me, just as a human being, it just never made sense. It just never made sense. Just pay the person that you need to get the thing from as much as you can possibly pay them, not as little as you can possibly pay them, because you'll get the best thing ultimately. Because if you pay a vendor a truncated budget, they'll do well because people work well under pressure and circumstance. But this constant return on investment obsession has basically hindered our entire the future of space, really, the future of physics, or at least the contemporary state of physics and space. It's very divisive. It's very stripped apart. There's no real official voice. Things are constantly being started and then canceled. And it's strange. The only, a logical rationale would be there's a completely other space program that is the main focus, and then there's a public-facing space program. So that seems reasonable to me, and that would be a big conspiracy, even though it seems pretty obvious. I'm trying to go through the comments here while I talk to you. Thanks, Tetrapodum says reassurance is a core quality of good science, as they say, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Financial sadism. That's a good title. Gosh, you could get a book published with that title. Financial sadist. Silent Murmur says, I agree, some budgets are disproportionately excessive. I missed the first part of the discussion. I kind of ended up, I was watching National Archive YouTube channel, which has older documentaries about the moon and Voyager and the early Cassini videos. And they just spoke to people like adults, and they talked more in specific about ideas that I think about. they weren't as advanced as the stuff we have today, but still, just the energy around it was completely different to the types of stuff we see on YouTube when it comes to trying to talk about the moon or anything. They really have dumbed it down over the years. Secret budget filaments, yeah, fund them, glow them. A Serious Business said, if the moon is a rock, then how was the recent selenilion possible as the sun was rising on the other side, and why does the moon become transparent? The moon has never been transparent. I promise you that from the bottom of my heart. Please go watch every video I've streamed over, I keep saying that, I guess I'm bragging, but over 700 videos of the moon. Never once has there been a star that appeared through the moon on the Earthshine portion. My OGs in the chat will vouch for that. There's no reason for me to lie about it, because if it did, I would have live 4K footage of stars appearing through the limb of the moon, and I would be famous, or I'd have the opportunity to be famous. Believe me, like, that never has happened, never will happen. The image of the star in the crescent moon, that is the archetypical idea of this, where that originates from, that idea, is actually what Thunderbolts Project talks about, which is why, in a way, I actually stumbled across them looking up this archetypal star within the crescent, and that could have been from the polar configuration. That's one answer. And then two, the selenilion is something that really, if you look at stellarium and you change and play with the settings and speed them up and slow them down, you'll see this kind of arrangement of the Earth and the moon and the sun in more clarity. It's hard to explain just in words why these things occur, but it's a reasonable assumption to imagine a nucleus and a shell. It's a reasonable assumption to imagine a planet and its moons and its orbits. It's reasonable to assume that things are spherical, because in total vacuum or in really pressurized zones, things are spherical at their very tiniest quantum instantiation, and as they grow, they become lattice structures, like nested hexagons. And that's the order of the universe. So that's what I think. And the moon is a rock also, kind of. It's a little diminutive. The moon could have been an old planet or an old star core. The moon also, in stellar metamorphosis, could be hollow because it used to be a star core. And that's how the moon can be hollow, but the Earth still has a nickel iron core. And something like Jupiter is still forming a core. So there are much more broad ideas that explain, I think, more reasonably some of the things that you're talking about. All right, I think I got a little sleepy here. I'm going to let the moon drift up. It was a fun chat, actually, and some rando chat room songs here, but gosh, I think I'm going to go crash pretty hard right now. So I will say thank you to the Space Fam, as always. Nested polygons that include hexagons. Thank you, Silent Murmur. That's a good discernment. Think of the moon as like a porous sponge almost. It's almost like a calcified rock that you find on a beach. And it's just been torn apart by years and years and years of ablation and solar radiation and earth shine, like burning it, because the Earth gives off a massive amount of radiation and probably gave a lot more off in the past. So the moon has a more dynamic life than just like a rock in the sky or a projection from the North Pole. It's really way more magical and way more impressive than that. Let some grand final tune commence. All this pressure. I think, what's the one? I think Ellie Wynn wanted Captain of the Stars, so let's just do the old school one. Captain of the Stars. All right, friends, I'll catch you on the next stream. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, maybe Moon Day. Leave me a comment or two, share the stream, and stay beautiful, stay wise, I will see you very soon. Thanks again. If I didn't catch you tonight, hope you're having a great day if you're listening to this tomorrow. Your captain signing off. Bonne nuit, mon famille.
Stars.